On today's special edition of World Insight, China's struggle and triumph over extreme poverty, seen from the outside looking in. Key lessons and insights from the diplomatic corps in China. Ambassador Tanya Romualdo from Cabo Verde, Ambassador Robert Sterling Kwan of the Bahamas, and Ambassador Hussam Al Husseini from Jordan.
Restless waters of no return. Lives out of extreme poverty. My trip to the Nu River in southwest China's Yunnan, meeting ethnic families, celebrating authentic cultures, watching real life unfold before my eyes, hearing deep insights. They say one never steps into the same river twice. Everyone I met there is determined not to fall back into poverty, but find new ways to embrace a new life. Farewell Poverty, a World Insight special. The Nujiang Prefecture has managed to lift all its population out of extreme poverty within a few years' time, with strenuous efforts and help from all over China. That's only one of those examples taking place in this country. So how to share the experiences of fighting poverty and dissect the challenges and shed a light on the path forward? I ask all these questions to them. In front of us is the road just built, starting operation early Spring Festival of 2021. On top of us, we are under the beautiful shadow of an ancient cotton tree. Behind us is the village that we all visited. So I guess our conversation carries certain history and weight. I want to start by asking every one of you, how did you make your trip this time to Nujiang Prefecture? 94% minority nationalities, half or more than half of the population in extreme poverty. Maybe lady go first?
Yeah, sure. Our trip to Nujiang gave us the opportunity to witness firsthand and with our own eyes what was done in this place in what comes to lifting out of poverty, eradication of poverty. We all learned that China managed to win this victory 10 years ahead of the UN 2030 Sustainable Agenda. So for us it was an opportunity to come and see with our own eyes. And what we saw had quite an impression on us.
I'm sure there must be quite an impression. You're already supporting the local handicraft.
Yes, of course.
That is a beautiful necklace, Madam Ambassador.
Thank you. Yes, I couldn't resist. I've been seeing them since we arrived.
Yeah.
So in the village there was this opportunity to get one, and I did.
Yeah, good for you. Mr. Ambassador, what did you see in the trip?
I see an achievement that for us, we used to think that it was not easy to accomplish. I would say that we still remember the debate on the Millennium Development Goals, especially on the poverty,
Yes.
and the goals to achieve half of the poverty being elevated by 2015 in the world, and then 2030 as the target for all poverty worldwide. And when we come here to see that this goal has been met 10 years earlier, it was not an easy for us to understand how this could be accomplished so quickly. And when we came, when we saw what really has been done in this particular city of Nujiang, it was for us not only an achievement but a model of how resolve and how determination can really create results that make life better and improve the life of people, no matter how far they are from the centers of civilization and modernization. It's not only that the life of these people improvement, but they were put on the threshold and on the foot, at the steps, doorsteps of modernization.
So your keyword seems to be ahead of time. And your keyword seems to be determination. What about the keywords for you, Mr. Ambassador?
What was done is magnificent. And I think I need to give the Chinese system, social system, some of the credit. Because I think in a lot of the democracies, we do have goals that we want to achieve, but because of our system, where we have to get the input and the approval of so many people, it takes time, and you have disagreements, and many times the object is lost in the political arguments. So I think by the system that they have in China, it helped them to help you all to achieve many of the goals as far as alleviating severe poverty. When I came here, well, I've been in China now 3 years and 4 months. And I think it's my second time basically in a mountainous area. And what has fascinated me very much is the infrastructure and the engineering that had to go into it to put it in place. In fact, I've been looking at and trying to write a poem. And I said that the infrastructure, the bridges and stuff, from a distance they look like pegs that you put on the board. But when you get there, you would see that there are bridges over the gorges and the valleys. There are tunnels through the mountains. And I know it had to been billions of dollars, RMBs and US dollars, just to put the infrastructure in so that you can have a base to start from. And I think once the central government had put that infrastructure in, I think it was easier. I'm not saying it was easy, but it was easier to move people from place to place. 3 weeks ago, I had the opportunity to visit the Three Gorges Dam. And I was made to understand that 1.4 million people will move out of the Delta area further up. And at the same time, they brought people from the top of the mountains down. Like I said, once you have that infrastructure to support that, you can do that.
People will say, oh, you're on China's TV, right? Are you being propagandaed? Or are you helping them to do propaganda? So in order to avoid that kind of suspicion, maybe you want to help us to understand what you really saw. One thing, little tiny details that you saw, a person that you talked to, merchandise that you buy, a village that you visit, a small conversation that you had, a dish that you enjoyed, whatever. What is that thing that you would tell your friends, you would tell your family? Madam Ambassador.
Me, it would be the visit to the school.
Tell me more about it. I didn't have the chance to go.
Yes,
I really wanted to go.
The school, what I thought was an amazing decision. You have, for example, 2 rooms side by side. The kids were age, I confess I didn't ask, but probably between 6 and 12. In one classroom, they were learning how to play one of the typical instruments from their ethnic group. So for me, this shows that relocating people and giving them new opportunities for a better life happened, but there is still the preoccupation to also maintain the roots, not losing tradition, not losing culture. Next to that room.
How did they play, by the way? Were they good?
They were learning, but it was already good. Of course, not yet professionals, but we could enjoy the music that they were playing.
Okay, good.
Next to that room, another room with another group, same age, learning English. So now we have the same community, not looking at the past, but looking at the future. Because lifting out of poverty is one thing. It's amazing, it's good, but now there's a second phase. You have to continue there,
Yes.
not fall back.
No.
So giving the new generation tools, education, of course, English, knowing how to use digital tools, will put them on a different level of opportunities for
Yes.
their future.
I
And
love
giving an
that.
opportunity to look at the future.
I love that story. I really want to have an opportunity in the future to
You
visit
should
that
go
school.
there.
I should go there.
You should go there.
And maybe to see really how are they playing the
Yes.
instrument. What about for you, Ambassador Husseini?
I don't think China needs us to make a propaganda. China stands for what it stands. I mean, nowadays, and the achievement is beyond just a comment from me or from anybody else. But what we have seen here, you know, our visit here, and I'm very glad that I came here after a number of visits to a very important and big modern cities in China, like Shanghai,
Shenzhen, yeah.
and others. When we visited those cities, we saw too much China ahead in the future.
Glimmering China.
Indeed. So when we read about those minorities here in the mountains and so on, always jump to our mind, what about
Them,
these?
yeah.
What about these communities and so on? What impressed me a lot is when I saw these projects here, is how much every part of China contributed to the development of this particular project.
Interesting.
When we went this morning to the museum, for example, and we saw the list of people who came volunteering or on official duty from different parts of China, that says a lot about the responsibility of the Chinese people, not only the system, not only the government, but also the people. They have that sense of responsibility to uplift their compatriots in the mountains or wherever they are.
Right.
And what moved me a lot when I saw this big panel of 40 officials who lost their life while they were working hard on this project in Nujiang.
40 officials lost their lives because of
sacrificed
this.
their life. And, you know, and they lost their life on a span of time, which means that people could consider or reconsider going when they know that there is a hazardous
danger,
or a situation where they could lose their life. But no, they continue to come, they continue to contribute to this project. For me, that was a story of a social responsibility and a national responsibility on the individual. Usually people, when they leave their original homes, they don't feel happy.
They feel like
they're always attachment to their original childhood.
very natural.
And native lands, even though it's not very distant from them, and they can still go back to it any time. But you can still look at their eyes and see how much they are happy, not about this life, but about that it was the right decision to join this and to benefit from this project and to move forward to the future. And when you look at it, this project in all its components, it has all the factors of success in it. The dedication of people, the confidence, and the resilience, as we said earlier. And at the end of the day, with all of these together, with the support from the nation across the country, there is no way that this project could fail. It will only have one way, is to succeed.
Well said, I learned a lot. Ambassador Quandt, a detail, tiny little one.
What I've noticed, not necessarily in Beijing itself, as Ambassador said, you know, you go to the cities and you see the big buildings, the glamour and all of that. But my travel around to the small villages or the small communities, and you see the enthusiasm that the people generate. Last week I was in, I think it's Houghton, and we were invited with a delegation from what you call GULAC, Central America, South America, and the Caribbean.
Yes.
And we were invited into two homes. One was a Muslim home, and the other one was what you call, I think, a wig home. It was good, you know, the feeling, hey, look, this is my house, this is what I do. The Muslim, I call him the mayor, he said, well, you know, I have 60 sheep, and I had one lamb, and we killed the lamb, and the lamb was there. You know, and he went out his way,
sweet.
and the enthusiasm that I see in the people's faces, even a few minutes ago, the older folks who were on stage, they sang, you know, from their hearts. Yes. And that is one of the things that I have seen, like I say, outside of Beijing. But I've said to friends over the years that if you really want to see a country, get outside the big city.
True.
All right?
Very
and
true.
there's much in China outside of the big cities.
Oh, especially what Yunnan could offer, right?
Right. And you know, I mean, this country here right now, I'm looking at these mountains we have
Right in front of us.
right in front of us. But now with the numerous or massive programs that the central government and the local governments, as well as, you know, the county governments and so forth, have in place, it has made life, I think, much easier for the people. And I think most of the people have embraced it.
I learn a lot from every story that you tell. But I really wondered, on the other hand, how to make it sustainable.
Well, on sustainability, first of all, we have to understand that eradicating poverty is not something that we accomplish and finish with it. Eradicating poverty is a continuous and ongoing process. It never ends on a certain stage. This is something we discussed yesterday in the forum. But we have to understand that the minute that people elevate it into a new level, getting up from extreme poverty into a new, better level and life, they also now have to face new challenges.
Greatly said.
And these challenges require even more efforts, not only to sustain what they have, but also to prevent them from
Falling back into the poverty.
And the most important is to continue forward. So this is becoming now a bigger challenge now. So now the urgency now to develop and to work on future plans for these population that have left extreme poverty to continue their march to the future, I would say.
Once we move all of these populations out of extreme poverty and probably from rural areas to some kinds of township urban life, somewhat urban life, jobs becomes even more important for them. And they're expecting to have better lives. It's the expectation that's really there to be satisfied and to be worked on.
Yes, I think for the sustainability, one of the keys is definitely education, preparing the young generations to continue this process of growth for themselves, for their communities, and of course for the country. Now these children are going to school on a regular basis, so they have access to education, including all the tools, digital, you name it, everything necessary for them to equip them for the next step.
What is more important now is the infrastructure that needs to bring the future to the doorsteps of these communities.
What are these infrastructures?
It's already there. When you speak of the physical infrastructure, we have seen the highways that is much better than in some modern cities. And the one which is most important is the ITs and the digital connectivity. this is where the future, not only of communication, but of education as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
They have 4Gs now, right? Don't they?
The last
When you
ye-
visit the villages,
Yes.
yeah, you could tell.
The last year of COVID
Yeah.
have locked all the world down. Now, at this moment, what a difference would be a person living in Nujiang from a person living in Beijing. It's the same, both are locked down during the pandemic era. So they are both have the same potential for contributing to the future with this digital technology.
Yeah.
This is how I see it. This morning or this afternoon, it was in this training section, there were ladies who are offering their products on internet. I mean, what more they need? They got the access now to the internet, which means they have the access to billions of people around the globe.
They know how to do sales.
Exactly.
They have their beautiful wardrobe, you know, they talk
And
very
they were
sweetly.
singing.
That they were singing, they were dancing, they know how to
Yes.
do sales. I can't do it as well as them.
Indeed. So now education is there through different means. The infrastructure is both digital and physical is on their doorsteps. So what is needed now for them to choose which path they want to develop further?
Sustainability.
I love that. Digitization, whether that tool is available, and sustainability.
One thing that history has taught us is that human nature will adjust to survive.
You sound very philosophical, Mr. Ambassador.
Yes, I have to be philosophical about it because us old people, if I could use that word,
Yeah,
many times are afraid of change. But it's something we have to live with.
yeah.
There's, say, in the Bahamas, we say there are three things we are sure of.
Uh-huh.
There's death, there's taxes, and there's change. So we have to adjust to the change. And so as far as sustainability is concerned, with the infrastructure already in place, with persons being properly educated,
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to be a big worry of sustaining their lifestyle.
The
going
Bahamians are very philosophical people. Now I learned, Mr. Ambassador, the three crucial things about life. You know, we're at a place where some of the biggest rivers are crisscrossing one another. And these mountains. This is what this prefecture is about, right? Everything biodiversity is almost here. On the one hand, having tourists coming in, but at the same time, not to destroy the surroundings, their hometown. Mr. Ambassador, you are from, you know, a
I'm
place.
from the Bahamas.
Yes, so maybe you can help us with
And
that
we
too.
are a touristic nation.
The other two ambassadors are certainly not deprived from the rights of answering that question either. But please, Ambassador, go ahead.
Our economy is based around tourism.
Yeah.
About between 60 to 65% of our GDP is connected around tourism. And then we have about another 15% what we call offshore financial services. Tourism, the point I really want to make is you take the Forbidden City. To not have the property or the building destroyed, they have limited the number of visitors. I understand it's 18 million a year.
Yes.
And that's it. And I can see in future, villages and cities like here would have to do the same thing. Although right now they're trying to develop that business. But maybe in 4, 5, maybe even 10 years,
Yeah.
they say, look, we're only going to accept 3 million, 4 million, and that's it.
Is that what you're doing back in Bahamas?
Yes, we're doing that. We have what we call ecotourism. Right now, we have a lot of swampland that the fish actually use as breeding grounds, okay, swamps. And they have built wooden walkways.
Yes.
You're not allowed to even walk into things now. You have to use the walkways.
Yes.
I can see the same thing happening here as well.
Madam Ambassador.
I see tourism also as a way to bringing the means to make it sustainable. For example, we have sea turtles, right? So tourists can come and swim with the sea turtles, But not just because they want to, or no, there are rules. There are certain people who are authorized, they have their boats, it's very well organized, and you pay. You pay to go there and to have this experience. This money is then use it on projects for not only turtles but the preservation of the environment. We learned also about a lot of young people being now trained, for example, as forest guards.
Mr. Ambassador.
Well, I agree with my colleagues, the ambassadors, on what they say. I have also maybe to add that tourism is good for the economy, yes. But it should not be on the expense of environment,
Yes.
or it should not also to lead to its own destruction for the future. What I mean is that when we have lots of tourists coming to a particular area, we might go on for more hotels, more resorts, or more accommodation. But what will happen in the time of low season? This will be a burden on the maintenance, this will be, and that's why for tourism, especially in the urban areas, in the rural areas, there should be a good planification for this. I know there are certain countries who build their tourism strategies based on the low season. And when the high season comes, you know what people do? The residents themselves, they go for tourism outside. And they leave the country or the cities mostly to the new tourists coming in. So the pressure on the services in the city will still the same as if it's, and they will continue keep the full accommodation and full booking, restaurants and hotels and resorts. So what is needed really is a good planification that will keep the balance between environment, ecology, and the tourism.
There are other issues that I would love to raise with you. Some people look at China's anti-poverty, extreme poverty actions as a campaign, as a political movement. Others say, well, you know, the standards you're using may not be the standards that is appropriate for a country with this economic size. So how do you see this debate?
When we look at the big number of people that were lifted from the extreme poverty in China, this is not only a big number for China, this is a big number for humanity. This is something of a human achievement, not only a Chinese, this is achievement for humanity. This is how I see it. And the second part of it is that let's not waste the time to learn from these experiences and to see where these successes could be a model for other societies, other countries. I came here not only to celebrate with you these achievements, but also to learn and to see how did you manage, how did China manage really to achieve these results, and how did they manage to do what they have done. And I could say that a lot of things that I learned myself, and I think we could
For example?
all, for example, the way that you have introduced the infrastructure to serve the communities rather than just to serve other purposes. So this highway was meant to serve the community.
Not the tourists alone.
Exactly, not other areas. And usually infrastructure development sometimes really they come on the expense of many local communities when they spread out, especially in the rural areas. But here I saw the infrastructure is built for the benefit of the locals. And that makes a lot of sense, and that will make a lot of advantages for the local communities themselves. Secondly is that they brought a lot of advancement to the doorsteps, as I said, of these communities, but the communities did not take off their traditions. They did not take off their own identity. So we could feel these minorities there, the tradition is living in spite of the modern establishments, facilities, and so on. The most important thing also is that there are plenty of things, of traditional items like agricultural, herbal medicine and so on, Now they are taking their way to the other markets across.
To the bigger market.
To the bigger markets. These kind of mechanisms not only develop their economy, but also they will sustain their development for the future, and they will keep them more interacted with the outside or the distant cities. I saw in my capacity, what I've seen today and yesterday, I've seen a good model that we could really develop for certain communities, for example, in my country, Jordan, where especially we have a lot of refugees.
Refugees, absolutely.
40% of the population of Jordan are refugees.
Jordan, by the way, have been shouldering so much responsibility in the Middle East.
Indeed. And for us, this income generation and employment projects for us are very important. So I saw today and yesterday some models that could really help us introduce and integrate in those communities that hopefully will help us also in the way ahead, and especially to help those refugees.
You always having your motherland in the heart.
Of course.
Madam Ambassador.
When we come on these trips, as the ambassador just said, of course we appreciate the sceneries, we appreciate learning more about the culture, about the local food and so on. But our main purpose is really to watch, listen, learn, and then build a bridge to our own countries. See what can I take away from this experience that can be useful in my own country. I think this is our task as ambassadors. We share what we saw here with our capitals. Of course, the realities are very different.
Yes.
Our economies are different. Our size is a little bit different. I mean,
A little bit.
my country's population is equal to the population of Nujiang, 500,000 plus.
Yeah.
So the reality is quite different, but there are always lessons to be learned. What I also saw here is that culture and the preservation of the culture became a very important part of the project. You want to preserve it, its intangible heritage, but you also use it as a touristic product. Because the lifting out of poverty is not an issue of individual countries.
No.
It's a common goal. It's
Yeah.
global.
Yeah.
So we are all in this together.
In the same boat, as they say.
In the same boat.
Mr.
Exactly.
Ambassador, Ambassador Kwang.
Okay, whatever decision a government makes, it's political. And as I said earlier, we old fellas hate to see change. And what has happened, a lot of the countries, which we may call the developed countries, I think in many respects they're afraid of China. And they are not accepting the change, or what you may say, lying down and accepting the change. And there are a lot of obstacles saying, oh, China isn't doing this, isn't doing that, isn't doing the next. And one of the things that I find that when you start talking about politics, the goalposts keep changes. There's one thing today, there's something else tomorrow. There's always a complaint. And as long as there's a complaint, the goalposts will change. I was in the Great Hall of the People, I think it was 2018, when President Xi said to the world, nobody is going to tell China what to do and when to do it. And he repeated it, and I remember that. And I got it written down in my office. Nobody is going to tell China what to do and when to do it. I think they were very important words, that China is saying to the Western world, look, this is our program, you can come along or get off the bandwagon. And as I said, a lot of the older societies, countries, they would be upset about it. And some of the stuff that I have been reading shows that. And a lot of the stuff that is written, I think persons is just philosophically writing it without having the facts. Okay? Because they may not be able to get into China. What to do? They have the media at their disposal. So they write something that is untrue or maybe partly true. But China is going to have to live with that. But at the same time, I think China is big enough that China can disregard most of the criticism. But on the other hand, we are a global village, and China will need the other part of the globe just as much we will need parts of China. And I must say from 1997, when we established relations with China, friendship has been improving. And I must, at this time, mention that when we had a few hurricanes, China came to our aid. And even when the pandemic first started, China came to our aid with regards to masks and the gowns and so forth. And as I know for sure now, China has made offers to the world with the vaccine. So all I can say, you know, China just needs to do what it's doing and doesn't need to be deterred by criticisms from the outside.
My final question might be related to that. Though I'm not as philosophical as you are, Mr. Ambassador, I must admit. That is, there are a lot of negative energy in our world today, I have to say. Whether it's in the media reports, it's in politics, personalities, and it seems it sells. It goes to the heart of people. But as we know, we cannot develop with negative energy. How do you also philosophically reflect upon that? You know, related to the issue of poverty alleviation, related to the issue of development.
Propaganda is a very dangerous tool. And if one hears something long enough, one tends to believe it. I mean, if we can go back to the Nazis, Germany, and if you repeat it often enough, persons will tend to believe it. But I think China, getting back to China, I think China just needs to promote what it's doing. I know it has the TV that we in the Bahamas get, CCTV. China needs to continue promoting its programs so persons can look at those programs independently and make up their own decision, their minds. Well, how should I look at China? Because you know, many times the TVs, news, newspapers, they are slanted in one direction or the other. But as I say, if you educate people, educated people will look at and try rationalize what are the facts.
Good advice, Madam Ambassador.
Yeah, every story always has different versions. Everyone needs to tell his or her own story. And nowadays, with access to communication is pretty easy almost everywhere.
Yeah.
So it will become easier for people also everywhere to have access to different stories about China, and then watch them, listen to them, and make your own judgments. I think that is the way to go. There will always be bad stories. It's in human nature. I wish we would have more programs showing, for example, what's happening in Nujiang on the news. But you don't see that.
We will
You hear
see it
other stories.
after our talk. Yeah.
So basically, yes, China has to tell its own story and make it available to the world everywhere in the
Yes.
world.
Also great advice. Thank you, Madam Ambassador. Mr. Ambassador, last but not least.
Well, the whole life, the whole world is about things of odds
Yes.
on both sides.
Yin and yang and the differences and this and that.
There's always right and wrong.
You're being philosophical
like-
again.
No. But what I say is that when things are all right, there's something wrong. So we shouldn't be happy when everybody is really commending. When we shouldn't be happy or so unhappy when everybody is criticizing. No, it's normal that there will always be people on the right, people on the left. And that shouldn't deter us from doing what we should be doing and continuing on our path forward. The most important thing is that we should not lose our moral canvas and that we should always live up not only to our belief and to what we have committed and to what our people are all committed to. So then whatever anybody says doesn't matter as long as as we are moving in the right directions. I think this applies for every individual and for every nation. And what we have seen really a good commitment here, and a very wise and well-directed moral canvas in China.
You know, we came into this conversation, everyone with a key word. You were talking about a stretch of time, and Mr. Master, you were talking about determination. You were saying about efficiency and infrastructure. At the end of our conversation, we learned not only from this place, but also from one another. What will be the key word that you want to take away with, Mr. Ambassador?
From here, again, I will take also the determination. Because determination, it says a lot about leadership, it says about vision, and it says about the contribution and the commitment for goals and for aims. I'm going back with these thoughts from here, and I'm sure that they will contribute a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. Madam Ambassador.
Solidarity. We see it in China between the different regions and provinces, but we also see it between our own countries and China. And it goes both ways.
And among one another.
Yes. So solidarity is definitely my key word.
Mr. Ambassador.
Keep educating the people, change the mindset.
That's very long.
Well, there are two words that
Okay,
go
okay.
together.
All right then.
Educate the people, change the mindset, and I think you will keep persons out of severe poverty going forward.
We are here in the middle of the mountain, experiencing all kinds of weathers, from drizzle to big raindrop, and now the sun comes out right behind us. This is quite an evening I spent with all of you under this ancient and sacred cotton tree. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
thank you too for the opportunity.
And that's all the time we have for this special program. Farewell, poverty. I'm Tian Wei. On behalf of the team, thanks for watching. Bye for now. Bye.